Okay, we are almost there. It's the fifth day of the 5 day online challenge, and we are at the finale. We've made it to the end. Well done to everyone who's done every single activity along the way, logging the habits, completing the mobility warm up, doing all those bits and bobs that are required. So, very well done if you've managed to do each and every single one of them. If you joined in somewhere along the way, day two, day three, etc., that's absolutely not a problem as well. Well done for getting to the end. Today, you'll have noticed actually these workshops have been in a bit of an order. So there's a bit around sleep, because a great day starts the night before, a bit around breakfast, getting us fueled for the day, a bit around our nutrition through the entire day. And then we talked a bit about mindset. So that's us starting to think about the future and about where we're going. And then today is about goal setting. And one of the things I have found over the years when it comes to goal setting is youth athletes tend to be very poor at it. And for a number of reasons, either one, they don't set them at all. Two, they set them, and 2 or 3 months later, they have no idea what they are. They haven't written it down. It's not on the back of a wall anywhere. They've not made any note of it. And if you were to stop them in the street and say, "What's your goal?" They've got no idea. They can't have any recollection. And that was certainly my experience in the Scottish Rugby Academy when we'd set quarterly goals. By the end of the quarter, no idea what it was. And if you don't know what your goal is, how can you possibly achieve it? And then the other part is sometimes it's a little bit vague around where to go next after that. They've got a goal, but they don't know what the next step is. So today we're going to talk a little bit about goal setting. If you're watching and this is the first time you're tuning in, then a little bit about why you should talk to me. I'm the founder of the Athlete Academy. I used to work for Scottish Rugby as an academy strength and conditioning coach for 5 years across two separate regions. I ran the Caledonia region, I ran the Borders and East Lothian region, helped a number of players turn professional. I also ran the under 16s, 17s, and 18s national teams. I've been fortunate to have people go up to the senior level after I was their coach. So it's great to see some of those people progress on to professional contracts and even international caps, which is cool. But this is my area. Youth athletic development is really what I've chosen to specialize in. And the best example I have of this is education. In education, we recognize a primary school a teacher is completely different to a high school teacher, and they're completely different to a university lecturer. But we don't have the same paradigm in coaching. And I think it is to the detriment of the athletes. Because what happens then is we have this negative attitude where we think the person who coaches the 10-year-olds isn't as good as the person who coaches the 15-year-olds, who isn't as good as the person who coaches the senior athletes. And that's simply not the case. It's different. It's entirely different coaching a 5-year-old, a 15-year-old, and a 25-year-old. So they have different issues, different challenges, and our style, our knowledge, our experience should be different if we want to be good at coaching that age group. If not, we'll just pay the person at the top the best, and everyone will have to work their way up the age groups to make the most money. And that's what happens at the moment. So in terms of my background, I've got a degree in strength and conditioning science, a master's in applied sport and exercise physiology. I've been accredited through the UKSCO for over a decade now, and I also hold precision nutrition level 1. So I'd like to think that I know a thing or two about developing youth athletes, as well as working in schools, governing bodies, academies, and consulting for a number of different organizations. So today we're going to talk about goal setting. We're going to talk first of all about why should we bother to set goals at all, why most youth athletes aren't very good at it. I'm going to introduce this concept of the 3 wishes, the genie. We're going to talk about successful goal setting, how to start to break this down into what exactly you're wanting, the outcome, what the process is looking like, that's the how. I'm going to discover the why, which is around identity, and then have a little bit of a summary, find out who today's winner is, and go from there. So first of all, why should we set goals? Well, this really helps us in 4 sort of main areas. The first is it helps us with our intention. Where are we going? Where are we intending our future to sort of unfold? What direction are we headed in? It can help us with our focus. So if we're setting a goal, that can determine what I'm doing today, what my focus is in this session, this week, this month, this year. It helps me prioritize. It sifts through things. If this is my goal, is this activity a priority, or does this fall down my priorities? If I want to compete really well on Saturday morning, is it a priority for me to be out on a Friday night with my mates at 10 o'clock at night getting up to mischief? That shouldn't be a priority if my priority is to perform well on a Saturday morning. And then again, motivation. When we have that goal, that bigger vision, that bigger direction, that can help us with the motivation of day-to-day tasks that can get monotonous. The best in the world don't get bored of doing the fundamentals. Other people do, and that's why I'm not the best in the world. So having that key focus, that long-term prioritization and intention helps us with the motivation of repeating some of the activities over and over and over again that are required to become the best in the world. David Beckham didn't become a fantastic free kick taker because he took free kicks when he felt like it. He took free kicks thousands and thousands and thousands of times. That's why he was great at free kicks. The average person gets bored and decides they want to do something else. That's the way it works. And it's the same in pretty much every sport. You don't get to the top of the field if you get bored of doing the basics. So most young athletes aren't good at goal setting because they don't actually set a goal. They just say something vague like, I want to get faster, or I want to get fitter, or I want to get bigger. Those are not goals. Those are wishes. That's just a wish. I've got no real number on it, no real way of determining whether I've achieved it or not, no real destination at the end of that process. So I want you to imagine that you found a genie. So the classic kind of Aladdin story, you rub a lamp and out pops this genie and you get 3 wishes. And you say to them, Genie, I want to be faster, bigger, and fitter. And he says, great, cool. And the next time you do your 10-meter test, you find out you've gone from 1.8 seconds over 10 meters to 1.79 seconds. You've lost a colossal time off your 10-meter time. Would you be satisfied with that? Technically, you're faster, but would you be satisfied? Is that enough of a decrease in the time or an increase in speed, depending on how you look at it, for you to be satisfied? Probably not. That's not a huge improvement, is it? And if the next time, if your wish was to get bigger, for example, if you're a rugby player and you were 70 kilos before, and the next time you stepped on the scales, you were 70.1, you got bigger or you got heavier, would you be satisfied with that? Again, probably not. That's not a huge increase. You probably had a bigger number in your head. You probably had a more impressive increase in your head. Same thing, if you were fitter and you'd gone from doing a Bronco test, a 1,200 meter shuttle, if anyone's not familiar with that, and you'd gone from doing it in 5 minutes and 30 seconds to a colossal 5 minutes and 29 seconds, would you be satisfied with that outcome? The answer is probably not. Although technically you are faster, bigger, and fitter, it's not really at the level you probably had in mind when you made that wish to the genie. But it's not the genie's fault. He gave you everything you asked. You're faster, bigger, fitter. You just weren't specific enough. So you should have been more specific. And that's why when we're setting goals, we need to be as specific as possible. How much, how far, how heavy, how long, how fast, how high. We need to know and have an exact number. Otherwise, it's not a goal, it's a wish. We're just wishing to get faster or wishing to get stronger or wishing to get bigger. We need to have an exact number on it. I had a good example with one of my athletes yesterday, and they were trying to remember what they did last week. And they said, oh, it was probably 20 kilos. And I said, oh, that's interesting. I said, if you played a game of football the weekend and you got to the end of the match and you said to the referee, what was the score? And he said, oh, it was probably 2-0. Would you be satisfied with that answer? You wouldn't be, would you? You'd be like, what do you mean, probably? Like, we want a definitive score. It's exactly the same in goal setting. We want to know exactly where we're going, how much, how far, how heavy, how long, how fast, how high. And this is where the SMART goals come in. So it needs to be specific. That's what exactly are we doing? It needs to be measurable. We need to know and be able to measure how much of an improvement we've made. It needs to be actionable. So is it something we actually have control over? I'm not trying to control the weather. I'm trying to control something I can influence. Is it relevant? Is it even remotely related to what I'm trying to achieve longer term? And is it timely? Have we stuck a deadline on it? Now, this is where we can start to create some SMART goals, which is not a bad thing. So for example, instead of saying I want to get faster, saying I want to run 10 meters in 1.75 seconds by the 31st of December, 2024. I've got 2020 here. That's how old this workshop is. I've been doing that long. If we want to get bigger, for example, I want to gain 3 kilos by the 30th of June, 2024. Very specific. On the 30th of June, 2024, I can step on the scales and see exactly have I put in 3 kilos or not. Maybe I want to bench press more. So I'm saying I want to bench press 100 kilos by the 1st of October, 2024. Very specific, very measurable, very time bound. I want to run a Bronco in less than 5 minutes. Exact goals. I've got this threshold. 5:01 is no good. 4:59, that's within my threshold. By the 1st of August, 2024, we have an exact outcome goal. If you think about this makes sense. In athletics, very good example. If you want to beat the world record, you know exactly what time you have to get because it's written down. There's records. Someone has kept a record of the fastest time someone's ever done that event, and you know that is the time to beat. This is what we're trying to do in all these other domains. And that is usually the end for most people when they set goals. They set a SMART goal, they make it specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, time-bound, and that's usually the end of the process. Maybe if we're lucky, they'll have it somewhere that they see, maybe on the mirror, maybe on the back of the door, but that's it. However, I would like to challenge you and say there's another level here. Smart goals aren't really that sufficient because now all we have is the end destination. It's a bit like sticking a destination in Google Maps. So on the screen here, I've got Murrayfield Stadium, which is not that far from here. So you know, okay, I want to get to Murrayfield Stadium. But the problem is we haven't got a route there. We have our final destination in focus. I've dropped that pin on the map, but I don't know where we're starting from. Are we starting from Edinburgh? Are we starting from Stirling? Are we starting from London? Are we starting from Paris? Where are we starting from? What's our route? This doesn't really help me. It's like I just have the end focus, but I haven't got an action plan for how I'm going to get there. So smart goals suck because they only tell us the end destination, where we want to go. We still have to figure out the how, and this is where most people get lost. They have this smart goal, but they haven't figured it out, the process to get there. So here on the screen, I've got an example of where I used to live in Stirling and where my route would be from Stirling to Murrayfield. Now, if you're coming from Glasgow, that's a different route. If you're coming from Sydney, it's a different route. We all need to know what our route is and what our process is. So smart goals suck because they're only a piece of the puzzle. And that's why most people stop, and that's why most people don't achieve them. So very few people set goals, even less people achieve them because they're not breaking it down further. So you need to also think about what, how, and why. And that's what we're going to delve into now. So we need to start thinking a little bit more about these habits and how we can create a habit that's going to lead to our goal by default. So a great quote from Aristotle, which you've probably all heard: we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence is not an act, but a habit. And then James Clear, a personal favorite of mine: you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So a good question to ask is, now that you've got that SMART goal, are your habits leading you towards that goal, or are they leading you away from that goal? So for example, if I am saying that I want to become a professional footballer, are my habits of hanging out till late at night with my friends the night before a match leading me towards my goal or leading me away from my goal? Sounds like a way. So do you have a system for creating habits that will lead you towards your goal? And most people do not have that. So when it comes to habits, it's very easy in this day and age to get carried away. And often it's these crazy, big, extravagant habits or extravagant behaviors that people put on social media, doing ice baths every day, getting up to 4 a.m. to meditate. It's all these crazy things. And the problem is it leads to this behavior where people think you have to change everything at once. I'm going to change my nutrition. I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. I'm going to train every day. I'm going to do video analysis every day. It's really, really unlikely you're going to be able to sustain that. So you don't have to change everything all at once. In fact, it's better if you don't. It's better if you just change one thing, because what we want to do is we want to make it sustainable. Because when it's sustainable, then I can start to layer a second thing on top, make that sustainable, and a third one. Because consistency beats intensity. For example, who do you think is going to win long term? Someone who can maintain this crazy extreme effort for 1 week, or someone who has a sustainable effort they can maintain for a year? Clearly, the person who can do it for a year. And we often see this around January time when people set a New Year's resolution. They say, I'm going to run every day. They'd be better off saying, I'm going to run once a week. It's a far more sustainable goal. And when I achieve that once a week, I feel better, and maybe I'll add in a second time until I'm running 3 times a week. You usually find the person who says they're going to run every day, by the end of January, they're not running at all, because they've set too crazy, unsustainable goal and they're not meeting it. They get discouraged, they fall away. So we want to get into this sweet spot, somewhere between sustainability and effort, which is this zone of long-term growth that James Clear mentions. So we don't want to be at the super, if something's really sustainable, like lying in bed is really sustainable, it doesn't require much effort. But at the same time, trying to run every single day requires a high amount of effort, and it's likely that we'll burn out and stop. So we want to find something in the middle, this kind of sweet spot where we can be consistent. So it's all about the power of tiny gains. So I want you to think about something. If you brush your teeth, let's just say you brush your teeth once a day. Obviously, you should maybe do it twice, but let's say it's once a day. That's in a year, that's 365 opportunities to brush your teeth. If you only brush your teeth weekly, that's only 52 opportunities to brush your teeth. And if you brush your teeth monthly, that's only 12. So actually, if we do something little and often, if we maybe have a very small, easy goal that we can do every day, we have 365 opportunities in a year to do it. So we don't need to be focusing on big, crazy, over the top goals. We want little ones that we can sustain, because there's a really crazy mathematical reality here. If we get 1% better every day, just 1%, not 10%, not 20, not 50, then by the end of the year, you are 37.78 times better. So that compound effect of 1% better every day really skyrockets. If you're 1% worse every day, it's actually not that much of a decrement. So we want to focus on stacking these little improvements over and over and over again, not going after crazy mammoth improvements, just little improvements, 1% better every day. It's sustainable, it's consistent, we can keep doing it. But at the end of the year, you look back and think, wow, I'm miles ahead of where I started. And this is one of the traps that we run into all the time, is that most people overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can do in a year. So I know I've fallen foul of this when you stack your calendar and then the day arrives and you think, geez, I've got far too many meetings back to back, or I've got far too many commitments that I've signed up for. We tend to overestimate what we can do in a day and underestimate what we can do in a year. Let's be kind to ourselves and think about consistent tiny gains. That's really where we want to go. So we want to take that big habit and we want to break it down. So for example, a really good example of this is if you play a sport that requires passing, so it's rugby, hockey, football, netball. Let's say I want to improve my passing and I set the goal of doing 1,000 passes a month. Okay, that sounds like a lot, but I could break that down. That's now 250 passes a week. Okay, let's say I'm only going to train 5 days of the week. I'm going to practice those passes 5 days of the week. Now it becomes a lot more sustainable. It's only 50 passes a day. That's not actually that much. I could do that in 10 minutes or 15 minutes. So by taking this big habit and chunking it down, it becomes easier, becomes less daunting, and more likely to complete them. Because actually 10 minutes, 15 minutes, that's doable. I can do that. If I then get to the end of the month and I've got to do 1,000 passes because I haven't practiced, that's highly unlikely to happen. That's going to be a big chunk of time, really require a lot of effort, a lot of application. Break it down, chunk it down. So this is how we want to start to break down our goals. So our goal is our big outcome. What's the thing we're really hoping for? So this might be, let's say, I want to run the 100 meters in 11 seconds. Now we want to chunk this down. Okay, what am I going to do this month? Well, this month, I am going to do, let's say it's a 4-week month and I have 3 athletic sessions a week. So I'm going to do 12 athletic sessions. This week, I'm going to do 3 athletic sessions. And today, I'm going to do 1 of those. So we're starting to chunk it down. Instead of saying, I'm going to do 12 athletic sessions, I'm just breaking it down and making it more useful, more sustainable, more consistent. And this becomes that kind of thing around consistency, which is really what we're big at the Athlete Academy, because consistency wins out over time. So take that goal, break it down. So here's an example, one for all the rugby players who are obsessed with gaining weight. Let's say I want to gain 3 kilos by, let's make it a bit sooner than December. Let's say July. So we're in April now, so it's May, June, July, by the end of July. Okay, what do I need to do then? Well, I need to gain 1 kilogram a month in that scenario. This one's slightly different. I've put it here by the end of December, but we're just breaking it down. That's a lot easier. Okay, so how am I going to do that? Well, let's say I'm going to do 2 or 3 gym sessions a week. I'm going to sleep 8 to 9 hours a night. I'm going to eat 6 meals a day with protein in each meal, and I'm going to weigh myself once a week. Okay, so now what am I going to do today? Well, today I'm going to do a full body gym session. I'm going to sleep 8 to 9 hours a night, and I'm going to have 6 meals. Now I know exactly what I need to do today to get to my goal. It's not some far away, distant concept that I can't build a bridge to. I've broken it down into what I need to do this month, this week, and today. And that helps because I'm more likely to complete it, which means I'm more likely to stack up those reps and get towards my goal. Here's another example. Let's say kicking. I want to improve my accuracy of kicking by 80%, or to 80%, sorry, by the 1st of December 2024. And here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do 200 kicks each month. Do you think if you did 200 kicks, let's say penalty kicks, then you'd be more accurate? It's highly likely, isn't it? Okay, so 200 kicks a month. How many kicks is that a week? That's 50 kicks a week. Okay, I'm going to split that down. I'm going to practice 25 kicks before training on a Tuesday and a Thursday. That's a lot easier. There's a lot more controllable than just saying, I want to improve my kicking accuracy by 80%. Okay, There's no plan there. We need to break this down. 200 kicks a month, 50 kicks a week, 25 before each session. Now I know after a Tuesday and a Thursday, am I on track for my goal or am I way off track? All it needs to be is 25 before or after. Easy. Third example, nutrition. Let's say I want to eat 5 fruit and veg a day by the 1st of December, 2024. Okay, so what do I need to do that? On a monthly basis, I need to consistently hit 5 out of 7 days eating 5 fruit and veg a day. So I'm gonna provide for the fact that I might miss twice in a week. What do I need to do this week? Well, I need to plan out my meals and snacks to make sure those fruit and veg are in there. And I'm also going to keep track of how many I have each day, or each week. What do I need to do today? Okay, well, today I need to plan and prepare my meals and snacks for tomorrow. I need to monitor how many I have. I've taken this big goal and I've chunked it all the way down to what I need to do today, what actionable steps are within my control that's going to get me towards that goal. So this is how we create a new habit. Maybe I've got that habit of fruit and veg. Maybe it's a habit of place kicking. Maybe it's whatever it is. So taking this directly from James Clear's work on Atomic Habits, there's 4 key things that we want to focus on to make a habit. We want to make it obvious. We want to make it attractive. We want to make it easy. And we want to make it satisfying. If you want to break a bad habit, all you need to do is flip these around and make it unattractive, difficult, unsatisfying, and not obvious. So here's an example, really good one that happens a lot. If you know anything about rehab programs and physiotherapy, you know that people have an astonishingly low adherence to rehab programs. So how can we make it obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying to do my rehab program? Well, I'm going to make it obvious because I'm going to print off my rehab program and I'll put it on the back of my bedroom door. And that way, every time I walk through my door, I'm going to see it. It's going to be a visual cue. Oh, I haven't done my rehab yet today. I'm also, maybe I've injured my shoulder. I've been given some external rotations to do by the physio, for example. I'm going to hang my TheraBand on the back of the door handle again as a visual reminder. So I've got my rehab plan, got my TheraBand. And then the third thing I'm going to do, I'm going to set a reminder. So I'm going to do my rehab every day at 7:30 p.m. So now I've got 3 things to make it obvious. I've got the plan, I've got the TheraBand, I've got my phone saying, hey, it's rehab time. How can I make it attractive? Well, maybe I'll do this while I listen to my favorite music, so it makes it a slightly more pleasurable experience. Or maybe I'll watch my favorite TV show while I do it in the background. So I've got it obvious, I've got it attractive. How do I make it easy? Well, maybe I need to do 3 sets of external rotations, but I can make it easy by saying to myself, I'm only going to do 1 set. I'm going to do 1 set, I might do 1 set later on, and I might do another set later on. So I'm going to clock up those 3 sets. I don't necessarily need to do them back to back. Or every time I walk through my door, I'm going to do 1 set. So it's so low, it's almost impossible to miss. It's such an easy win that I'm more likely, if I start with 1 set, I'll probably go, actually, do you know what, I'll do both. So psychologically, it's a very low barrier for entry, but it's more likely to make me win. And then how do I make it satisfying? Well, maybe I'll have that satisfying feeling of ticking it off on a bit of paper of my to-do list or off a phone app, that bit of that nice feeling inside when we do something we said we're going to do. Yeah, check that one off. Here's another example. Let's say it's a fitness program. How do I make it obvious? Well, let's say I'm planning to go out running in the morning. What I can do is the night before, I can put my running shoes out and my clothes. So when I wake up, I've got that visual cue. There it is. As soon as I get out of my bed, there's my shoes, my shorts, my t-shirt, my jumper, whatever it is. How can I make it attractive? Well, I'm going to build a good playlist of all the things that make me feel motivated. I'm going to get, Eye of the Tiger out. I'm going to get whatever it is that makes me feel motivated. My favorite tunes. I'm going to run to that. Maybe I'm going to run a really interesting route. Maybe if I live somewhere, there's a nice statue or a stream, or I live in a Wallace monument, I can run up and down. I'm going to make it an interesting route. I'm not just going to go on a treadmill that's really dull and it's monotonous. I'm going to make it a bit more interesting. Maybe I can run with a friend. So I've got that commitment. I know that if they show up and I don't show up, they're going to say, hey, where are you? So maybe we make it a social thing. Maybe I'm going to use an app like Strava that can give me a little bit of a competitive element, see the route that other people run. I'm going to make it easy. So this is a psychological strategy I used to use all the time as a kid. I used to hate running. And so I used to tell myself, right, just run to halfway. You don't have to run the full thing, just run to halfway. Now, once you get to halfway, what's the fastest way to get home? It's not walking, is it? It's running. So now I get to halfway, I'm like, okay, well, this is going to last longer if I walk, I might as well run home. Or I'm going to run for 10 minutes. And if at 10 minutes I feel good, I might keep running a little bit. Or I'm going to run once a week. And then if I happen to get a second run in, even better. So again, it's easy, low hanging fruit, low barrier for entry, consistent, sustainable. And then satisfying. Maybe I'm going to log my run on Strava. I'm going to check it off my to-do list. Third example, breakfast. Okay, how to make it obvious? Okay, I'm going to lay out what I need the night before I go to bed. So maybe I'm planning on having porridge in the morning, so I'm going to lay out my bowl, my spoon, my oats. Maybe I'm having a smoothie, so I'm going to put it all next to the blender. Easy. I've got that visual cue when I wake up. I've already done a couple of the tasks. How to make it attractive? Well, I've got a couple of recipes that I'm going to try. And actually, I've found this favorite one that I like. I'm going to use that. So I'm going to add my favorite fruit, my favorite berries, my nuts, my seeds. I'm going to make it tasty and satisfying. How do I make it easy? Well, maybe I've found some quick 5-minute recipe, or maybe I'm making scrambled eggs and I'm going to cook them in the microwave instead of on a pan, because that takes too much time. Microwave is a lot easier. Or maybe it's porridge and you can do it in the microwave. How do I make it satisfying? Well, it's going to be quick and it's going to be tasty. So these are the key things we need to be thinking about when we're trying to build habits that are going to lead us to those bigger goals. So the big issue is you can't just be guessing. So Peter Drucker has a great quote: what gets measured gets managed. So if you start keeping track of things, you automatically start realizing, oh, I haven't done that today. I need to make sure I get my 5 fruit and veg. Or actually, I said I'd go for a run today and I haven't done it yet. I'm going to go. So it doesn't matter how you measure it. It can be paper and pen. It can be the notes in your phone. It can be an app, whatever works for you. But you need to be measuring this in some way, shape, or form, because then we know, did we hit the mark or did we fail? That's the key thing. So a real simple one that I used a long time ago before we started using Team Builder in the program was a habit, aptly named Habit. So it's a free and easy app. You can use this. I think you can set up between 3 and 5 goals for free, and you can start to log it as you go. So a real simple way. So the next thing is we need to get into the why. So we've talked about the outcome, which is what. We talked about the process, which is how we're going to do it. The next thing that's really going to drive us is the why. Because if we want to have a consistent long-term behavior, it's our why that is our driver. So you may be familiar with this. This is from, I believe, Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl, if any of you know it. Those who have a why to live can bear with almost any how. So if we have a big enough purpose behind why we want to achieve this goal, it's going to get us out of bed in the morning. It's going to get us doing what we need to do, the monotonous stuff, the repetitive stuff. So let's dig down into that why. And there's a really good exercise here for those parents. You've probably felt this when your toddler starts asking about the world, but it's called the 5 whys. So the idea is each time we want to get into a bit more depth until we really get to something that's a bit more meaningful. So for example, in this example, this is from Precision Nutrition. This is about weight loss. So why do I want to lose weight? Because I want to fit into a smaller size of jeans. Okay, why do I want to fit into a smaller size of jeans? Because I think I'll look better. Okay, why do I want to look better? Because then I'll feel better about myself. Why do I want to feel good about myself? Because then I'll be more assertive and confident because I'm feeling good. And why do I want to be more assertive and confident? Because then I'll be in control and be able to get what I'm going after. So we need to go down beyond just this deep superficial level of, oh, because it'll be nice to win a race. What is it? What is it that's the driver? Dig into that, and then we'll get a bit more adherence, a bit more consistency. So here's an example. Let's say an athlete says to you, I really want to improve my squat. Okay, why do you want to improve your squat? Because I want to get stronger. Okay, why do you want to get stronger? Because it will help me perform on the pitch. And why is that important to you? Why do you need to perform better on the pitch? Because I want to get selected for my regional or national team. Okay, and why is that important to you? Because my long-term aim is to turn professional. So actually, we can tie, okay, we need to improve our leg strength with this bigger goal of becoming a professional athlete, rather than, oh, I just want to improve more. Okay, we need to tie it to this bigger thing. So last little bit, why do you want to become a professional athlete? Because I love the sport and it's been my dream since I was a child. That's a far bigger driver, a far bigger purpose than I want to get stronger. What's the bigger picture here? So another element to this is around creating this as part of your identity in your child. So we know motivation and willpower are temporary. I'm sure any of us who've tried to stick to any sort of regimen know that willpower is not an infinite resource. But our identity is far more powerful. So for example, we act in line with how we see ourselves. It would be very unusual for you to meet someone who said they were a swimmer but couldn't swim. That doesn't really happen, right? Because we act in line with how I see ourselves. So we would expect that someone who says they're a swimmer swims pretty regularly. They're probably pretty good at freestyle and breaststroke and maybe even butterfly, they would have invested time to become a swimmer to then start calling themselves a swimmer. So what we tell ourselves matters because it influences how we think. So there's a famous quote, I think, therefore I am. So what the stories that we're telling ourselves about our identity influences our behavior because our brain wants to match that. So if I say, well, my identity is, I'm a footballer. Okay, well, what does a footballer do? Well, a footballer practices. They go out. They work on their free kicks. They work on their passing. They do those things. I can't really call myself a footballer if I'm sitting on the couch. Not the same thing. Or I'm an athlete. Well, what does an athlete do? That kind of leads nicely into this. So let's dig into that. What sort of behaviors does an athlete do? Well, an athlete sleeps 9 hours a night. They eat 6 times a day. They do extra training. Okay, well, if I'm going to call myself an athlete, now I need to do the things that athletes do. And I love this from T Nation. Do sharks need motivation? No. They're up early, biting things, chasing stuff, being scary, and reminding everyone they're a freaking shark. And that's kind of what it's like. Once we start putting this identity in our brain of, I am a basketball player. Okay, well, what does a basketball player do? Well, they play basketball. Okay, well, I need to go and do that thing. Can't call myself a basketball player if I've never touched the ball in my life. Can't call myself a swimmer or an athlete or an artist if I don't create anything. So we can start to create this identity that then drives us and moves us forward based on our why. So the good question here is then, who will you be? And this can dig into that identity question. Okay, I am the type of person who eats healthy food, who lifts weights 3 times a week, who is lean and athletic, who does extra, who trains hard, who achieves their goals. These are the sort of conversations we can have. It's, okay, you want to be an athlete? What type of athlete are we going to be? What type of person are we going to be? That's the sort of questions we can start to drive these behaviors a bit further. So in summary, SMART goals really aren't enough. They only really give us that pin on the map. They don't give us the journey to get there or what that process looks like. What we need to do is break it down into what, the outcome, how, the process, and then why. Why is this important to us? What is a big enough reason to get me out of bed on a rainy, cold Monday morning and make me do the thing that I've said is important to me? What's the bigger purpose? We need to measure, not guess. That's a hugely critical, important one. We can't just be guessing if I've ran faster today. I need to measure it. Key element, your identity shapes how you act. Our brain likes to act in congruence with what we say. So if we're starting to leverage that, we can say, I'm an athlete. So I'm not going to go out to that party on a Friday night because I'm an athlete and I'm performing tomorrow and I need to be in that right mindset. Or I need to go to bed early because I'm a swimmer. And swimmers wake up at 5 a.m. and swim, and I need to be up at 5 a.m. to swim. So create the identity intentionally. You can work with your child on this. What do you want to be? How do we make that? What does that type of person do? Okay, now we need to go and do those things. So hopefully that's been helpful. Hopefully it's given you some thought-provoking ideas around the next level beyond setting SMART goals and beyond just those superficial things. So if you are interested in having the opportunity for your child to continue along this journey beyond the 5 days, to get support on their lifestyle habits, their mobility, their strength, their power and speed beyond this challenge, then we've got 2 great offers for you. The first one, I recognize we've got people from around the world that aren't based here in Edinburgh, aren't based in Scotland. So option 1 is online coaching. So our online coaching program is almost a digital replica of what we do in person. So you'll get access to the Team Builder app. You'll have an onboarding Zoom call with me to make sure you understand how everything works. You'll have the daily habit questions, just like the kids do when they see us in person. You'll have weekly performance testing, just like the kids do in the in-person program. You'll have 2 sessions per week, exactly the same. You'll be working your way through that 12-month habit curriculum and the 12-month movement curriculum, just like the kids in person are. You'll be getting coaching, slightly different format. Obviously, you're not getting that immediate feedback, but you'll be able to submit videos of your child's squats, pushes, jumps, skips, and you'll get written feedback on, hey, fantastic work. Think about trying to keep your elbows a little closer to your body or try and land like a ninja, all those kind of things. And you'll also get education resources built into Team Builder that you can use to help support your child with the different facets of the program. So if that's of interest to you, we've got a one-time offer. You'll get a free 2-week trial for the Athlete Academy Foundations program. And then you'll also get 50% off the first month with the code challenge. So if you stick challenge in at checkout, you'll get 2 weeks free, and then you'll get the next month at half price. So Pretty amazing. You're going to be able to get started for absolutely zero. If you live within a stone's throw of Edinburgh, we're at Engage, Edinburgh Napier University, Site Hill, off the bypass and the motorway, so very handy if you are coming from further afield. Then our in-person coaching program is probably a great option. So as part of this, you get 2 group coaching sessions a week. Again, access to the movement and habit curriculum. You'll get access to the Team Builder app. You'll get weekly habit reporting. That same battery of physical tests that we rotate through. We'll also do a quarterly goal review and skeletal age assessment. You'll have access to the parents' Facebook group and all those resources there. If you're unfortunate enough to get your child to get injured, then we have a great referral system in place with Bodywell Therapy here in Edinburgh. And we collaborate with Carly on a regular basis for different athletes who've experienced things like fractured collarbone, Osgood Schlatters, different issues. We work together to make sure this child's getting what they need while they're repairing that particular injury. And then we also have a flexible booking system. So you can book ad hoc week to week. You can also lock in particular sessions if you've got a particularly busy family schedule. And if, let's say, you have a reservation for Mondays and Wednesdays at 4:30, and it just so happens this week is no good, you can cancel and you can book in a separate date without affecting your long-term reservation. So we've got another offer for in-person coaching. Again, we're going to let you get started for free, just like our online program. So we usually charge £120 for our free 90-minute one-to-one on-ramp. During this, we will get all the data on your child, their height, weight, standing broad jump, mid-thigh pull, counter movement jump, trunk endurance, all these tests, so we know where we're starting from. We'll also figure out where they fit in our 12-month curriculum. Are they coming at level 1? They've got no previous training experience. This is brand new to them. Do they maybe have a little bit of training experience? They move relatively well. They're coming at level 6, because we want to make sure the challenge point is just right. We don't want it to be too easy that it's boring, and we don't want it to be so hard that it's overwhelming and they feel like they're drowning. We want to get exactly the right entry point for your child. So we're going to give you that for free. That's 90 minutes one-on-one with one of our coaches. And after that, they're ready to join the group coaching program. So both of these options, in person and online, you can start with us for absolutely zero. This is our current group coaching schedule. So we're on 3 sessions, Monday to Friday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we have a 4:30, a 5:30, and a 6:30 session. On a Friday, we have a 2 p.m., a 3 p.m., and a 4:30 p.m. So hopefully enough options there for everyone. And on top of that, we're going to give you a 100% money back guarantee. We are so confident in what we do and the uniqueness of our program that we never get complaints, and we have never had to give someone their money back who was unhappy with their service. And that's reflected in the many Google reviews that we have. But these offers are only going to be valid until midnight on Sunday, the 29th of April. So if you're watching this, you need to get a move on, enter those codes online, enter them on Team Builder, on GoTeamUp, and claim your place. So as I said, this is out of date now. We're up closer to 50 Google reviews of 5-star reviews. But if you don't believe what we're saying, there's a whole host of reviews on there you can read. So for example, this is a review from Sean about Innes, who's a cyclocross athlete. Innes became British cyclocross champion in 2023 in probably the most demanding race he'd ever done, and all the different training he's done over the years contributed to that win. I have no doubt that your classes were a big factor in that victory. Is Laura, her son Seb is a young rugby player in the program. I cannot recommend Rob highly enough. Our son's physical, mental, and emotional development has grown together with his strength and resilience. Rob and his capable team's knowledge have made him healthier, happier, and more focused. His rugby has benefited hugely from their input over the last 2 years. And then Lauren, whose son Riley is a young footballer, again, been in the program around 2 years plus. This class has superseded my expectations. I'm glad my son has a place here. He's learned so many different skills thanks to the fantastic team. And these testimonials go on and on. From Natasha, talking about how her 12-year-old son's benefited physically and emotionally, and he'd be there every day if he could. To Pamela, talking about the staff all being friendly and welcoming and nothing being a problem. Laura talking about her young rugby playing son. The facilities are great and the ethos is even better, as well as seeing huge differences in physical strength, mobility, and speed. We've observed an increase in self-motivation, confidence, and development of lifestyle habits, and an increase in accountability for his own progression. Who doesn't want that for the kids? And then finally, Gemma talking about how our initial intention in joining was to help build athleticism. We didn't anticipate the value of the lifelong lessons and habits he would develop. It's been a worthwhile investment and one we'd highly recommend. And Kim This is one of the reviews that blew me away because this is a new level. Our 11-year-old son started with the Athlete Academy just shy of 3 months ago. In that short time, the change in his self-esteem and confidence is unbelievable. Even his teacher and friends have noticed. So that one was pretty mental. And then finally, Adam Johnson, very happy to recommend Rob and the team of coaches at the Athlete Academy. Our son has learned such a lot about using the gym in a healthy and safe way, consistent with his age, development, and chosen sport. The program is one of a kind. And he's absolutely right. It is one of a kind. You will not find this anywhere in Scotland because nowhere else has such a holistic approach as we do. So if this is of interest to you, then I will drop the different codes into the chat so you can take advantage of either the code for the online coaching or the code for in-person coaching. As I said, these are going to be valid until Sunday night, so 12 a.m. Sunday. So don't dilly-dally, get stuck in and jump on in there and make sure that you can claim your place. After that, we will go back to our usual way of doing things and you will have to pay for those options. So thanks very much for your attention. There's one last thing that we need to do, which is to announce our winner of the final day, which was our squat challenge today. So let me open up Team Builder and find out who it was that logged the best score along with their habits for today. So I'll open up my leaderboard and give it a bash. I think I've got a hunch who it was because I remember seeing it come through earlier in the day. So 2 seconds. Squat. Oh, I know what I've done wrong here. 2 seconds, bear with me. I didn't set it up as a leaderboard, so I need to go into squat challenge, make sure that's set up as a leaderboard, and then we'll know exactly who our winner is and who our final prize will be going to. So reps, let's see what we got. Get back into our leaderboard for today, for the squat challenge, and for the highest number of reps. Here we go. Time frame today. Ooh, no records found. Right. Well, I will do a bit more digging and announce it in the Facebook group. But thanks very much for your attention for the last 5 days. These have all been recorded. So if you want to watch them back, you can do. If you want to grab your child and get it in front of them as well, I'll make sure the slides go into the Facebook group so you guys can watch that back retrospectively as well. Thanks very much for all the engagement and all the activity and comments and messages during these 5 days. It's been great being able to help as many people as possible. So I hope you found it helpful and it's given you some food for thought. And there's at least 1 or 2 little takeaways you can take away to help support your child a little bit more. Thanks very much, and I'll speak to you soon.